So today's video is just thinking about this idea of files and folders. So I'm Dave and I help business leaders to use IT more effectively. There's a big problem with this, and for some reason, I don't really understand why, back in the history of IT, we decided to create this visual mental model, files and folders. So if you're older than me, you've got filing cabinets, you open them, there's the bits of paper inside on those little things. You spend ages printing off little labels so you can find stuff. That's not how computers work. So this idea of files and folders, or those yellow folders you've got, is rubbish. It's not how it works at all. It's very frustrating. What we should have taught people is about pointers, but because that was a complicated idea, we decided that we'd use the files and folders model because people are familiar with it. But that's led to us getting to the point today where people are used to filing stuff in folders, and that's not the way we should be storing data. We want an intelligence to storing data. So today I'm going to talk about how it should be done. But let's just explain what I mean by a pointer. Imagine you've got your filing cabinet and there's a file in there. With a pointer, you can take the file out. 10 people can take the file out. You can make 20 photocopies on the photocopier, distribute them. The file is still in the filing cabinet because all you're doing is you're creating pointers to the original file. Now, if you email somebody a copy of the file, that's obviously a separate document. But if you email them a link to the file, then they've got a link to the original document. If you change the document, it can be updated in the version that they've got. It's not something that's very easy to explain. On the hard drives on your computers, there's just an index of what files are where. On the stuff that's stored in the cloud, there's just an index that says these files are here. And you can have a pointer. The file can be in multiple locations and the pointer can record those multiple locations. You don't need to know any of this, but the point is that it's not a file in a folder, it's a pointer. What that means is when you're structuring data, I realized recently the way that Apple Macs do it, whatever you think about Apple, is way better. So there's a folder for each application rather than just stuff sitting everywhere. Now, if you're disorganized like me, it's very easy to scatter files all over the place. So let me show you my structure. What I have is I have a folder for each year, and inside it I have a Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. down the list, and I put all the files in there that my day-to-day files are, because I had a genius realization that most files nobody ever looks at again once you've created them. And really a lot of things are created in our management tools now, so they're not a file that exists on my computer. I still see people, they get an invoice, they print it off, they file it in a filing cabinet, they've got electronic copies filed in folders. You don't need any of this stuff. The accounting package can take care of all this nowadays. It's not necessary. So what happens is you end up with this huge amount of data, hundreds of thousands of files, so no one can find anything. Okay, maybe you've got some libraries, so it's not too bad. But the problem is we're going to come to AI soon, and AI is going to need structured data. What that means is it's going to need to know what relates to what. So say you're, for example, great example of this is architects. Architects, they start a project, it might take 10, 15 years, and there's thousands and thousands of files and versions of files. And if you ever go into an architect's office, there's always big piles of printouts of all the drawings they've done. And the problem is that you need to structure this. And the way to do that is with Microsoft Teams and SharePoint. You create a library within SharePoint that's linked to Microsoft Teams. In fact, you do it through Microsoft Teams for that project. You add the people that need access to that Teams project, and then they can all access all of the files. They access the pointers to the files. You can collaboratively work on documents at the same time. Everything's all in one place. External resources can be brought in. You can give them access to files, but the point is it exists within that project. And you can also do it for teams. So you've got your accounting team, your finance team. So you can give them access to a Teams library, which has got data in SharePoint. And our personal files, we stick those in OneDrive so they're not mulled up. And then each project, each team has got a separate place to store stuff. By doing that, when we start to use artificial intelligence in the next 24 months is coming, it'll be much, much better because it'll be able to recognize, say, this project and be able to just look at the files that relate to that project and find stuff about them and create stuff that's useful for you. So you can create reports, you can summarize information, you can show it in different ways. The point is, if you're still thinking about stuff as files and folders and putting files in, main documents, accounts, Sage, 2023 accounts, Bob's files, whatever, it's impossible to find anything. Or I see people and they move files from one folder to another as they work. Equally, that's not the way to do it. You create a file, you leave it where it is, you put it in the right place to start with, you leave it where it is, and then you just create pointers to that file. If you want a process to take you through that, We can do that with lots of the more complicated Microsoft tools. A lot of applications do it now that you can buy, but we don't keep moving the file from place to place. That's not the way to do it. Because remember, it's a pointer. It's not a physical file that we're taking out of the filing cabinet. It's still in the filing cabinet. Okay, that's enough waffling for me. So I just want to introduce you to this idea because it is super important as a business leader you understand the model that a lot of people have for storing files is wrong and it isn't based in reality. Okay, that's enough for me for today. I hope that helps and thanks so much for watching and speak to you soon.